Kartals, anyone? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Could I have the book? So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7, text number 54. Daiteya, Yaksha, Rakshamsi, Striya, Shudra, Vrajaukasaha, Khaga, Mriga, Papajiva, Santi, Hi, Acyutatam, Gataha, Daiteya Yaksharakshamsi, Striyashudra Vrajaukasaha, Khagamraga Papajiva, Santihyachyutatam Gataha, Daiteya Yaksharakshamsi, Striyashudra Vrajaukasaha, Khagamraga Papajiva, Santihyachyutatam Gataha, Daiteya, O demons, Yaksharakshamsi, the living entities known as the Yakshas and Rakshasas, Striyaha, women, Shudraha, the laborer class, Vraja Okasaha, village cowherdmen, Khagaha, birds, Mrigaha, animals, Papa Jivaha, sinful living entities, Santi, can become, He, certainly, Acyutatam, the qualities of Acyuta, the Supreme Lord, Gataha, obtained. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O my friends, O sons of demons, everyone, including you, the Yakshas and Rakshasas, the unintelligent women, Shudras and cowherd men, the birds, the lower animals, and the sinful living entities can revive his original eternal spiritual life and exist forever simply by accepting the principles of Bhakti Yoga. Purport. The devotees are referred to as Acyuta Gotra, or the dynasty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is called Acyuta, as indicated in Bhagavad Gita, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratham Sthapaya Mecyuta. The Lord is infallible in the material world because He is the Supreme Spiritual Person. Similarly, the jīvas, who are part and parcel of the Lord, can also become infallible. Although Prahlad's mother was in the conditional state and was the wife of a demon, Even yakshas, rakshasas, women, shudras, and even birds and other lower living entities can be elevated to the Acyuta Gotra, the family of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the highest perfection. As Krishna never falls, when we revive our spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, we never fall again to material existence. One should understand the position of the Supreme Acyuta, Krishna, who says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjun. One should understand Acyuta, the Supreme Infallible, and how we are related with him. And one should take to the service of the Lord. This is the perfection of life. Srila Madhvacharya says, Achyutatam chutivarjanam. The word Achyutatam refers to one who never falls to this material world, but always remains in the Vaikuntha world, fully engaged in the service of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschamya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada, in this purport, firstly, Prahlad Maharaj in this verse describes Krishna as Acyuta. Describes that the living entities can attain the qualities of Acyuta, the Supreme Lord, and Srila Prabhupada elaborates on this in the purport, describing that the name Acyuta for Krishna means infallible. Or in this case, Srila Prabhupada, in most cases when Srila Prabhupada would use this word infallible, what he would mean is that he is infallible. Like he says in the purport here, as Krishna never falls, when we revive our spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, we never fall again to material existence. So Krishna is never fallen. Krishna is always Krishna. Although it would seem, in some cases at least, that some of the activities that Krishna performs are, from one perspective you could say, fallen. There's a verse in the first canto that says, Skritavan kila karmani saharamena keshava atimartyani bhagavan gurdha kapata manushaha. Krishna's atimartyani bhagavan, meaning that he is above death. He has no death, he has no birth, he is completely above the modes of material nature, completely above anything that we can really understand. However, Kritavan kila karmani saharamena, with his Rama, his brother Rama, Balarama, saharamena Keshava, Keshava performs activities that are gurdha kapata manushaha, in which he is disguised as a human being. So in the course of doing that, some of his activities sometimes cause people to have some doubts. For instance, famously, Krishna's activities with the gopis, Krishna's dancing in the forest of Vrindavan with other men's wives. Now, from a material perspective, this is very wrong, or this seems very wrong. Or Krishna, one time I was on book distribution, and I met one Christian couple who were very disturbed by the fact that anybody could worship a god who stole butter, by worshiping a god who is glorified as a thief. Makanchor. Krishna's a butter thief. So, they were very disturbed. They were very disturbed that anybody could worship a god who steals. When Krishna came as Lord Ramachandra, and he fought with Vali, the way he killed Vali, Ramachandra is supposed to be Maryada Purushottama. He's supposed to be the supreme personality of righteous conduct. But when he fought with Vali, what did he do? He killed Vali just like a hunter. He shot Vali was running away, and he shot Vali from behind. Which in Vedic culture, in Kshatriya culture, is like really, really disgraceful for somebody to kill somebody else like that. In Kshatriya culture, the culture of warriors in Vedic times, a powerful Kshatriya would never accept a battle with a lesser Kshatriya, in the sense that he would never, it was always supposed to be an equal fight. Even if a Kshatriya were in the course of a fight to drop his weapon on accident, the other Kshatriya who he was fighting with, he would also drop his weapon. Or for instance, if his chariot broke, the other Kshatriya would also get off his chariot. It was always an equal fight. But when Lord Ramachandra killed Vali, what did he do? Vali was running away, and he shot Vali from behind. And it's described just like a hunter. Yeah, he was hiding behind a tree, and he shot Vali from behind. Similarly, in the Lord's incarnation as Vamana, what did he do? He cheated Bali Maharaj out of the entire universe. He asked Bali Maharaj, he said, just give me 3 steps of land, that's all I need. And Bali Maharaj says, I can give you so much more, why would you only ask for 3 steps? And he said, that's all I need, I'm a simple Brahmana, that's all I need. And so he said, okay. And with his first step, he took half the universe, and with his second step, he took the other half of the universe. And then he told Bali Maharaj, he said, you promised me 3 steps, and now I've taken everything with 2 steps, and you owe me another step. And Bali Maharaj, at that point, he realized that was his Lord. And he said, Lord, you can put the 3rd step on my head. And so, not only did he cheat Bali Maharaj out of the entire universe, Bali Maharaj, he took over the entire universe with the army of the demons. And he had taken over the heavenly planets. He was sitting on the throne of Indra, similar to Hiranyakashipu. So not only did, for the demigod's sake, Krishna cheat, or Vamana cheat Bali Maharaj out of the entire universe, but when Bali Maharaj then surrendered to him, what did he do? He arrested him. He tied him up with the ropes of Vasuki, snake, and he sent him to the lower planets. Very difficult to understand for some. Similarly, yeah, of course, yeah. And then, of course, Vamana agreed to be his doorkeeper. So all these things, also even besides Krishna engaging in activities which appear immoral, In Vrindavan, it's very interesting because he really doesn't even act like God. Of course, all these things like Vamana cheating Bali Maharaj, it's very clear. Vamana is God, Krishna is God, and Bali Maharaj is his servant. It's very clear. In Vaikuntha, for instance, it's very clear. Narayana is God, and everybody else is his servant. But in Vrindavan, it's not so clear. It's not so clear who's superior in Vrindavan. Because Krishna in Vrindavan, although Krishna is this aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam parvartate, although everything comes from him, although he's Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha Lakshavrateshu Surabhira Vipalayantam, although he's the supreme controller, the cause of all causes, the beginning of everything, although he's constantly being served by everybody in the universe, constantly being served by hundreds and thousands and millions of different souls, Lakshmis. In Vrindavan, he's crying and running away from his mother who's chasing him with a stick. It's very interesting. Even Lord Brahma, whose body is completely made of intelligence, even he was bewildered when he saw Krishna performing his pastimes with the cowherd boys. Brahma he thought, this can't be Vishnu. This can't be my Lord. So he said, I'll test him. Let's see. And he took all of the Krishna and the cowherd boys were taking lunch as the calves were grazing. The calves were also taking lunch. And Lord Brahma, he took all of the calves and cowherd boys, put them into a mystic slumber, and hid them away in some cave. Krishna, he had gone, the calves had strayed a bit far away, so Krishna had gone away. So he wasn't there to see. And Krishna came back and nobody was there. So,
you didn't find the cat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Krishna came back and all the cowherd boys were gone. And so what did he do? He expanded himself into all the calves, all the cowherd boys, identical forms. And he took this opportunity to have loving, intimate, direct relationships with all of the residents of Vrindavan, all the cows, all the parents in Vrindavan, everybody in Vrindavan, for some time, got to directly serve Krishna for a whole year. And so Lord Brahma came back after 1 year, and he saw that everything in Vrindavan was normal. In fact, not only was it normal, but there was so much more happiness, so much more ecstasy. And so Lord Brahma was bewildered. And he realized that he messed up. That actually this was Krishna, this was his Lord. So Krishna, he's although he engages in all these activities, everything that he does is spotless. Why? Why did Krishna cheat Bali Maharaj? Why did Vamana cheat Bali Maharaj? When Vamana cheated Bali Maharaj, what did it do? It put the demigods back in control of the universe. It allowed righteousness to rule, and it also gave Bali Maharaj a place. It gave Bali Maharaj shelter at Vamana's lotus feet. When Krishna danced with the gopis, what was the purpose of that? The purpose of that was to heighten the love. Krishna could have danced with anybody. Krishna didn't have to arrange it such that the gopis had husbands and children. Why did he do that? He did that to ensure that the love was deep. Krishna says, Naparayeham. He says, I can't, he's speaking to the gopis, he says, your love for me is so intense. You gave up everything for me. You risked everything for me. And he says, I can't pay you back. There's no way I could pay you back. Therefore, just be satisfied with your activities. Just be satisfied with your love for me. and I'll be satisfied with it also. So, similarly, also, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Varanasi, he was dancing and chanting in the streets the holy name with pretty low-class people, actually. Although he was a Brahmana, although he was a sannyasi, he was dancing in the street with all these low-class people. And the sannyasis, the Mayavadi sannyasis at Varanasi, took great issue with it. Because sannyasis, Brahmanas, especially in that society, they were the cream of society. When the British came to India, their impression was that the Brahmanas were very arrogant people. That was what one Britisher wrote. That the Brahmins are very arrogant people. Why? Because people offer respect to them, and they don't offer respect. They don't reciprocate. Everybody gets out of the way when they walk, and they just walk through. And so the sannyasis, especially amongst the Brahmanas, are like the tip of the, what do you call it? Pinnacle? The pinnacle. So, for a Brahmana, for a sannyasi to be dancing and chanting in the street with all low-class people was very disturbing for them.
Giving the sannyas a bad name. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Giving the sannyas order a bad name. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he spoke with them, well, first of all, he came to their assembly and he sat in the place where they washed their feet.
He washed his feet and sat there.
Yeah. And so all the sannyasis were saying, man, who is this guy? This guy is dancing in the street with all these low-class people, and then he comes and he sits in this dirty spot where we all washed our feet. What's wrong with him? And so they approached him and they said just that. They said, hey man, what's wrong with you? Of course, in probably more sophisticated terms they asked. And they said, you're dancing and chanting in the street with all these low-class people. You're supposed to be a sannyasi. You're supposed to be studying. You're supposed to be... what are you doing? And he said, hey, my guru told me to. And then they said, who is this guy? You know, who's your guru? And then what did he do? Because, okay, you could say, okay, my guru said, but you could say, my guru told me to kill 30 people every day. But there has to be some shastric basis. Don't try to find one. But there has to be some shastric basis. You say, my guru said something. Okay, fine, your guru said something, but there has to be some shastric basis. And then, over the course of what was probably a very long conversation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu convinced them that actually the Yuga Dharma, the Dharma for this age, which can deliver all living entities very easily, is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. And so when one does that, when one engages in that process of devotional service, like Prahlad Maharaj is saying in this verse, one also becomes infallible or infallible. Although a Vaishnava might appear to be fallen from a social perspective, in the sense that even if a Vaishnava is in some position, in some role in society, which traditionally bars them from performing some kind of religious function, still, by staying in their constitutional position, serving in their constitutional position, and dedicating all of their activities to Krishna, very easily they can be delivered. Shudras, like Prahlad Maharaj is saying in this verse, demons, rakshasas, lower animals, all kinds of sinful living entities. Just by staying in their constitutional position and dedicating all of their activities to Krishna, there's no like this. There's this verse in the Padyavali by one South Indian poet. I don't know if he's named, but anyway, it says, Vyadhasya charanam dhurvasya chavayo vidya gajendrasya ka. What was Dhruva's qualification in the sense of in regards to being mature? He was a 5-year-old boy. Vidya Gajendrasya ka. Where was Gajendra, the king of the elephants? Where was his knowledge? He was an elephant. Kubjaya kimunama rupa madikam. Where was Kubja's beauty and her good reputation? Kubjaya kimuna adikam kim tat sudamno dhanam. Where was the wealth of Sudama, Krishna's poor Brahmana friend? And then it says Kubjaya kimunam rupa adikam kim tat sudamno dhanam. Then the next one is who? Oh yeah. Vamshako Vidurasya. Where was Vidura's great family lineage? Vidura was a Shudra. He was the son of a Shudrani, of a Shudra woman. Vamshako Vidurasya Yadava Pater Ugrasya Kim Paurusham. And where was Ugrasena's what is it that he I think it was Ugra. Where was his prowess? And then it says this very beautiful line. Bhaktya kevala tushyati bhakti priyo. No. Bhaktya kevala tushyati nacha gunair bhakti priyo madhava. That Madhava, Krishna, Acyuta, he's only pleased not with gunas, not with whatever qualities one has according to their birth or like that. He's Bhakti Priyo Madhava, Bhaktya Tushyati Kevala, or Bhaktya Kevala Tushyati. He's only pleased by Bhakti. And so when one performs Bhakti, knowing Krishna to be infallible, knowing Krishna to be with no doubt about Krishna's spiritual nature, with proper philosophical understanding. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vedi tatvata tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjana. Then one also becomes infallible. But this philosophical understanding, this understanding of Krishna as also being infallible, is absolutely essential. Because if we don't have that understanding, then our bhakti is, for the most part, just sentiment, which is really which really can't be called bhakti. So many people have feeling, for instance, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Sahajiyas also have feeling for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We could say the unauthorized followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who engage in all, they have feeling for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu too. They dance and chant, and certainly they feel some happiness when they're dancing and chanting Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. But because they don't have the understanding that they're meant to give up sinful activity, their bhakti is meaningless. It's not only meaningless, it's worse than meaningless, but it's actually not pleasing to Krishna. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's that narration about that poet from Bengal who came to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's very excited to show Chaitanya Mahaprabhu his poetry, or his drama about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath. And so Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kind of like his right-hand man, he would vet all of the different poetry and writings and things like that would be presented to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this poet from Bengal presented he's very excited to show Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's poetry, so he presented it to Swarup Damodar Goswami, and practically, in the very beginning, he presented this misunderstanding that Lord Jagannath is the body, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the owner of that body. Separating Krishna from his body, saying that Krishna is not his body. Which is a great philosophical misunderstanding. And so although he had feeling, although he was excited to write something for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he didn't have the proper philosophical understanding, it wasn't pleasing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like if I have a best friend, and I'm really excited to have a relationship with that best friend. But I think that my best friend is a dog. And so I'm very excited to give my best friend dog food, and I buy him dog toys, and I do all these things. He's not going to be very happy. Some feeling is there, but if I have a misunderstanding about who this person is, the love that I'm giving them is not pleasing. So in a similar way, we have to have proper philosophical understanding. Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha. One who understands the transcendental nature of my birth and activities in this world, in truth, tattvataha. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. He doesn't have to take birth again. Once he gives up his body, he never has to take another body. And it's not just a fanatical kind of, you have to understand my version of God and this. If you want to, Krishna is willing to fulfill whatever desire you have. He's ready to do it. Even if that desire has nothing to do with him, even if that desire is, I want to enjoy in this material world more and more and more, Krishna says, go for it. I'll help you. But if we want to go back home, back to Godhead, if we never want to take birth again, if we want to have a relationship with Krishna, then we have to know the goal. Because only when we know the goal in truth can we actually work toward it. So if we know Krishna in truth, if we know who he is, what his activity, the nature of his activities, then we can know that we're dialed in, that our focus is proper, that we're properly tuned in. And then when we engage in the process of Krishna consciousness, then we'll actually achieve the desired success, the desired result, which is love for Krishna. And that love for Krishna, the nature of that love for Krishna is that it's never lost. It's not that one attains love for Krishna and then gives it up again. It's permanent. Sthayi bhav. So, as long as we fully engage ourselves in the service of the Lord, then Krishna will surely reciprocate with us, and we will give up our fallible nature, our fallible nature, and achieve the qualities of Acyuta, who is the supreme infallible, as Krishna, or as Prabhupada says in this purport. So I'll stop there. It's 8:29. If there's any comments or questions. Virachandra Prabhu was first.
Can you explain what means to understand these activities and appearance of God in this world?
Well, we have to understand one thing. The first thing that we have to understand is that Krishna is fully spiritual, and that everything he does is fully pure. So we might see that Krishna does things like dancing with other men's wives, or cheating somebody else, or stealing butter. But these things have to be understood in the context that Krishna's God. That everything belongs to Krishna. Krishna can't steal anything, actually. It's his anyway. He created it, and similarly with the gopis. Krishna created the whole thing. Without him, there would be no gopis. There would be no gopis' husbands. So he created the whole thing as it's all like a big drama, so that he can enjoy relationships with his devotees. So one has to understand philosophically by hearing. What's that verse? Yadanudhyasana yukta. What is it? Yadanudhyasana yukta. No. Yadanudhyasana yukta. Armed with the sword of knowledge, the pure devotees, they cut the karma granthim nibandhana chidyante kovidastasya ko something, huh? Kona kuryat kataratim. So, yadanudhyasana yukta, armed with the sword of remembrance of Krishna. Karma grantin nibandhana chindyante kovidastasya. The kovidas, which is conventionally we translate it as like a pure devotee, those who are in knowledge, they cut the bonds of, or the knots of karma, which are very entangling. They cut them, and therefore, kono kuryat kataratam, who wouldn't be attracted to their kata, to their speaking or to their words? So by hearing from the pure Vaishnavas, by hearing from those who know Krishna in truth, then we can also know Krishna in truth. There's that verse, Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Those who are tattvadarshi, those who see the truth, because they've seen the truth, they can help us to see the truth. They can show us the truth. So it's a matter of hearing, and hearing submissively, and trying to understand, like Srila Prabhupada said, not trying to misunderstand. But the main thing, another from Srila Prabhupada said that understanding means standing under. So we can only understand Krishna if we surrender to Him. Again, so many people have some feeling for Krishna, so many people have some feeling for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or even some feeling for Srila Prabhupada. But unless there's a really nice, in this regard, a really nice passion of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. One well-placed person came to see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur with some questions, philosophical questions about Krishna consciousness. So he came to see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Guru of Srila Prabhupada, at Sri Chaitanya Math, at his flagship temple in Mayapur. And he approached Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur with these questions, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told him, go speak to the gardener. And this gardener was illiterate. He was illiterate, he was a gardener, he was a Shudra, really, externally. But he went to him, and sure enough, he answered all of his questions. And so without a real attitude of service, that I want to go out of my way, I want to sacrifice myself, I want to sacrifice my interests, even my interests in Krishna consciousness, that I'm not attached to a particular kind of service, I just want to serve. I'm not attached to doing, even if it's a Krishna, I'm not attached to doing this or that or this. I just want to be of service. Then we can understand. So understanding means standing under. And when we stand under, it means that we're giving up our independence. It means that we're giving up our material desires, but even in some cases giving up our spiritual desires. So that's how we understand Krishna in truth, by a really hardcore service attitude. So you had something?
2 questions. Thank you so much for a wonderful interview. First question is, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Varanasi, right? He was speaking with Mayavadi sannyasis. You mentioned that he quoted a verse about Yuga Dharma and the holy name. But wasn't there something else besides refuting their arguments that convinced them to accept him? Yeah, well, he also,
surely it was a much longer conversation than it's presented in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But yeah, his main thing was refuting their interpretation of Vedanta Sutra. But then establishing that the holy name was, because he said that verse, well, there's that, yeah, evam vratas for priya namakirti, but then there's that one, that too. But he said, Murka tumi, well, anyway, it's that verse where he's saying that my guru told me that I'm not intelligent enough, I'm a fool, and that I have no qualification to study Vedanta. Man, I can't believe it.
Before or after?
This was before, but then he said, But then he said, my guru told, I forget the first line, but anyway, then he says, Krishna mantra jap shada, a mantra shar. He says, my guru, Vedantadikar, yeah. Murka tumi tomar nahik Vedantadikar, Krishna mantra jap shada, a mantra shar. He says, my guru told me that I'm a fool and that I have no qualification to study Vedanta Sutra, so he just told me that this Krishna mantra is the essence of all mantras and that I should always chant it. And then he went on to refute their interpretation of Vedanta Sutra and then established that the holy name is the supreme Dharma.
And another question about the example you gave, Lord Ramachandra, and that demon that he killed from behind the tree.
No, it wasn't a demon. It was Hanuman's brother.
What's his name?
Vali.
Vali. Okay.
Or sorry, Sugriva's.
Sugriva's. So what's the lesson that we learn from that pastime?
Well, you mean what's the lesson that we learn? Like why from him killing him from behind?
How can we understand? You know, if Lord Ramachandra is all merciful and spotless.
Well, one thing is that anybody who's killed by Lord Ram is certainly delivered, and Vali wasn't. Yeah, well, that's one thing. Definitely anybody who gets killed by Lord Ramachandra is delivered.
From behind.
Yeah, from behind. So one thing is that a certain portion of Krishna's pastimes aren't really meant for like learning anything from, in the sense that you could say like, what's the lesson in Krishna? Of course, anything we can glean something from, but like what's the lesson in Krishna being killed by a hunter at the end of his life? Some things are really just actually meant to bewilder atheistic people. It's called Asura Mohana Lila. The pastimes which are meant to bewilder asuras or demons. So Krishna demonstrates for the enlivenment of the devotees and for the bewilderment of the demons that he is, although he comes to establish Dharma, at the same time he's above it. But you can see that in every single case where Krishna, you could say, broke Dharma or broke the rules, there was always a net gain. There was always, and not just like a net gain, like there was like a little margin of gain, like it's like mostly good, but it was really for the greater good, and that's how Dharma works in general. After when Duryodhana was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, who was it? Bhima. Bhima went up to him and was like kicking him in the head when he was on the ground, and everybody was like, Bhima, like, relax, you know. And they kind of like pulled. I mean, he was really upset at Duryodhana. So after Duryodhana was on the ground, you know, bleeding out, Bhima went there and started kicking him and beating him. You know, he's so angry. There's some other things with Bhima too, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Really intense. And then Duryodhana says, you know, you're all a bunch of cheaters. He said, you might win this battle, but you did it completely dishonestly. Like how many times you broke Dharma, I can't even count. And then the Pandavas started lamenting. They were like, yeah, that's true. Bhishma, Duryodhana, all these Kauravas, they started lamenting, like, we really cheated. Like, all of them have been killed in an unrighteous way. And Krishna chastised them. He said, don't lament now. He said, of course they were killed in an unrighteous way. How else would you win the battle? And then he quoted some verse from Dhanur Shastra, the Shastra which, like, warfare, art of warfare. And he says, if there's an enemy who's much more powerful than you, you can use crooked means. He said, it's fine. And so I arranged everything. Don't worry about it. Just keep fighting. So, for the greater good, Krishna sometimes breaks Dharma. And he does that on one hand to bewilder the demons, and on the other hand to demonstrate to the devotees that he's above Dharma, and to demonstrate to everybody in general that he's actually above Dharma. So every time Krishna breaks Dharma, it's actually glorious. Everything Krishna does is glorious. Like there's this Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his songs. He says, Swarasaki siddhi braja gopidana parama chanchala sati. He says the wealth of the Vrajvasis, specifically the gopis, is Swarasaki siddhi, that each of them has their own, like a fingerprint, each of them has their own individual relationship with Krishna, their own individual kind of love that they relish with Krishna. And he says it's parama chanchala. It's unstable in the sense that it's volatile. It's thrilling. But at the same time, sati, it's chaste. Everything that Krishna does is completely chaste. Because it all belongs to him. Krishna created Dharma. Just like Krishna created logic. Logic comes from God. Therefore, there are some things about God that are above logic. It just can't really be understood by logic. Like, why is Krishna blue? Why does Krishna like butter? Why does Krishna wear a peacock feather in his hair? These things can't be understood by logic. There's no logical sequence that gets you to there. But it's true. So in the same way, Krishna created Dharma, and but at the same time, he's above it. Chaturvarnya maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apima vidya kartaram avyayam. He says this Dharma, these varnashram Dharma, these divisions of human society come from me, but you should know that I'm above them. So everything Krishna does is ultimately glorious and should be glorified. And whatever Krishna performs, whatever activities Krishna performs, he does for the pleasure of the devotees. And Srila Prabhupada says to give the devotees something to talk about. So because Lord Ramachandra killed Vali from behind, now we get to speak about it in Bhagavatam class.
What happened? Oh, okay. Two things. First of all, one of the because you mentioned that at the end there, exactly. Don't forget the Brahmana Gita. This is one of the things that she criticized, that Radharani criticized Krishna for. She's separated from him, and the bee is there, And she said, like a cheater, he killed Vali from behind the tree. This is very dishonorable, So this gives her subject matter. So that's one of the reasons. But the other thing I wanted to mention, you forgot about when Lord Chaitanya met the sannyasis at Varanasi. So he, as he mentioned, he raised it, he washed his feet and sat down there, which was unorthodox. And then, I'm going to read the verse. As soon as Lord Chaitanya saw the sannyasis, he immediately offered obeisance to them, and then he went to wash his feet. After washing his feet, he sat down by the place where he had done so. After sitting on the ground, Lord Chaitanya exhibited his mystic power by manifesting an effulgence as brilliant as the illumination of millions of suns. So that's really impressed him because they're into the Brahma Jyoti. So, okay. So suddenly all their disrespect flew away. And he said, come over here, sit here. And that set up where finally the end of all that, the climax was he gave him the real interpretation of the Vedanta Sutra. And they were all converted. They all became, thousands chanting and dancing in the street. I just wanted to
Chai. Okay. Grantharaja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Acyuta Bhagavan ki jai.